the stochastic fiction game. This is a writing game. It is stochastic because I'm going to generate a stochastic fiction outline running this Python script. If I can remember where this Python script exists. Let's go ahead and look in the file directory here. We have it. It's in stochastic. That's right. What this script does, it's going to output a stochastic fiction outline, and then we're going to follow that outline to then be able to write a story with the randomly generated features, elements, within this time of now an hour and 29 minutes. This is also time stamped, as you see. And these are the story elements for today's stochastic fiction game. Story elements are setting, time past, setting, main location, city, conflict, person versus supernatural, quantity of primary characters 1, point of view third, tense, present tense, genre western, format, your format. So that's either, and what I mean by format, it can either be a middle of a book, the beginning of a book, chapter 1, or the ending of a book, chapter, or a flash fiction story. It's kind of a fallback. I'm just going to give myself flash fiction for today and make it easy on my mind at least. Because I have other books I have in my mind right now, and books are complex. I feel like I'm cheating, but I am going to go ahead and write a story for this. I don't know. I mean, supernatural in a city. Let's look at the elements. Let's not be arrogant enough that I remember these. I'm going to have to check my script because the randomness of supernatural has been coming up. And there's not a lot of different conflicts, but I guess at least it's not against society. And who loves another ghost story, I suppose? Maybe the supernatural could be what people would consider. Well, no, I mean, ghosts come from this belief of an afterlife and you're stuck here. And in some versions of death and what happens afterwards, that energy creates a ghost. It's going to happen in the past. Okay, that's not a big deal. I've lived long enough that the past can be really foreign to other people. So, unless I want to stretch it historically and being able to keep to that accurately beyond 50 years would be a little bit difficult for me and seem a little bullshitty. Not very good, given the time. Quantity of primary characters 1 in a city. That's fine. I mean, people in the city, once you're there for a while, they all become background in a sense, and the only ones you know stick out. Maybe I should have made this novel first chapter. That way you don't really have to get too complicated in the beginning of it. You're just setting up the rest of the story. At least one plot process of the story. If you wrote it like some grand fantasy novel and you had 1,000 different chapters, this could still be like a flash fiction story, and the narrative, one of the narratives that you want to write throughout the book. Point of view third. Sure. That's not what I default to. Present tense, a little interesting. Okay. I mean, third is actually what I default to. And then first and second seem to me to be whatever one suits the need, unless it's, generated by a stochastic fiction outline. And it has to be a Western in the past. Oh, shit. In the city. Man, for some reason I was thinking like this person was living in New York City for a moment. And because I'd recently been there. And people became background and not necessarily people. Well, once you're around a lot of people, and I've lived in cities before, so maybe it's memory muscle, but you just sort of, they're become a lot of times objects like a building to get in your way to your destination. Fortunately, maybe this is going to be a Western. I think I just recently wrote a futuristic Western. And then previous to that, something was supernatural. So a lot of these themes are coming together. But this is going to be in the past, not the future. I think I had a present Western recently. I think I did it on a ranch. Jeez. I play this game enough, I suppose. A lot of patterns will come up. And I guess that's maybe the stochastic part of it, is that if you take these elements and give them to another person, they're going to write a different story. Randomly. And yeah, shoot. Let's start writing something. This is going to be a Western in a city, so that's just going to diminish it. But if you're the prime, maybe this would be, it'd have to be something like a bank robbery. We're going to do bank robbery. What is it? Supernatural, though. Okay. Maybe they're a ghost, third person ghost. Maybe they died in a shootout. And everyone truly becomes background because you're the ghost. And it's third person, so this person's the ghost. So we'll have to go through and... Okay, no, I think that's it. Let's do that. I've seen enough Westerns, and I've been in enough desert places to at least, use my nonfiction to create a fiction. Does it have? Do I want to use that cliche of the shootout? Maybe it's just a simple bar fight. I mean, that's cliche too, but people fight in bars, and especially when they're drunk. And a lot of these cliche and tropes come from a place of truth. If you can get shot playing cards in a bar and leave that place, and maybe get away if you're smart about it. If we're going to go in the past, and this is a Western, I'm going to have to think of the Deadwood. Again, tropes, but still founded within some truth. Didn't experience it, so my fiction won't be as good as the stuff I experienced, because then I can lie better with it. Person versus supernatural, one, so they're a ghost now. Third person, present tense, Western flash fiction. Okay. So what's the point of the flash fiction story then? If you start with them becoming the ghost. I should have, if I would have been more bold, and I would have done novel first chapter, I think I could make this into a novel. First chapter would be that they realize that they're a ghost. It's the fight. And I want the moment after the fight. So the fight's I missed a thing. Because that could have been the first chapter. Then the second chapter could have been the one where they realize they're a ghost. So I'm just going to have to condense what I would have wrote for a first chapter of a novel down to 2 sentences. And one paragraph to set up the fight, the death, the place, the time, who, what, why, when, where, how. Then they're detached. There's only one primary character still. And that primary character, then everyone becomes background because he's a ghost. And is that then you set up, I have to have some witty title. I'm going to have some witty title. So let's start writing. I only got an hour and 20 minutes left. I should start giving myself an hour, especially if it's flash fiction. I just do this a lot. And sometimes I think I also talk too much. Or talk and not write too much when it comes to these games I create. Um, what's the reason for the fight? Would be like whiskey. I'm thinking whiskey. I prefer whiskey, though I really don't drink it that often anymore. Let's do that. I'm not going to give it some brand because do I want to? If this is a western, I mean, I've made westerns in the present and the future, so it's been a bit for the past. For the present and the future, well, no one knows the future, so my fiction of actually being on ranches and farms leans into a western, and also been to ghost towns and spent a lot of time living in the typical cliche western setting. Sagebrush, plateaus, stuff like that, wash beds. I want to kind of go real, and I don't know, like, Carson City. Let me Oh, I know what I'm gonna do. Hell yeah. I'm gonna use a city. This is perfect. I love it, actually. I've been gaming. I play Hero System, and I'm learning it. It's the first time. My dungeon master, Clint, who's a fucking fantastic storyteller, has created the world, and there's a stone wall. And I created the character. I came up with the whole backstory, and then he fit. We negotiated on a year. It was 1875. And I did it because of like timing of the Mormon Meadows massacre, and the character Nephi that I have is from that. But this Nephi character also has like Jesus-like powers of healing. It's part of the hero system, and we wanted to explore that. And they're Mormon. So Clint is, we talk about story. We've gamed with each other long enough, but he's basically created this place called Stonewall. And in my mind, this is kind of how it's going to be. And that way it can stay fictional. And Stonewall is a fictional place that's in Idaho, which I suspect will become a desert ghost town and get burned to the ground, so we can maintain those false sense of historical fiction could have been, you know. Okay, so it's going to be in Stonewall. Yeah, Stonewalls, and this person maybe. Ooh, let's do that. I could have it be one of the characters. That'd be kind of fun. Why not? Like that's my inspiration. I can take these and use story places that I don't have to make something up every single time. Hundreds of times. let's what was that character's name though? Stonewall Inn. I don't think that's the name, but I'm not going to look it up right now because it's going to be the name here, because Stonewall will have purchased the inn that's across the street by this time. In Pours, Pours unwatered whiskey. For card players, I don't even know what game they'd be playing. I'm gonna throw out poker, and have a high card, some debate, just so I don't have to specify. Given I'm not going to look anything up right now because I just don't want to do that. So Stonewall Inn pours underwater whiskey for card players, for poker players, gambling against a house. I'm going to capitalize H. Yeah. Stonewall Inn pours unwatered whiskey for poker players gambling against a house. And I got to think of the character that dies. Because the character who dies is going to pull a gun. And the innkeeper, I guess it'd be Stonewall, the new innkeeper. But, and this is going to be, because it's the Old West, and because gender roles were so thick and dense, I'm going to keep to that. But if this was like, well, maybe not. I mean, I could play around with it and use non-gendered pronouns, not to cast a person as like, binary or anything else, but just to keep it unknown. They're dead. Everybody else has a name. Maybe that's it. Like you're the ghost. You're starting to lose your identity. That's kind of fun. It's a little challenging. What time do I got? I got an hour and 12 minutes. I think I can do this. Or some palatable version of it. If this stuff is ever published, it's going to be edited. Unless it's for some like art piece that displays this as a thing that I want to show when I sell books at expos, conventions, book festivals. Stonewall Inn pours unwatered whiskey for poker players gambling against a house. Now I'll leave it the name, but I'm not going to have every other. It's going to use ungendered pronouns for this person once they're shot. Because in this world, angels have no gender. Should I do angles? Angels have no gender. I like that title for many different things, and I'm going to try to fit it into this. But they're not an angel, though. I like that. I'm just not going to be the title. I like that idea, though. I'll have to write that down and make note. If I had my wet erase marker near, I'd be writing it down. But I'll just leave it on there. I'm gonna. This person's no. I mean, it's going to be a him, but they are going to go. I am going to go with ungendered pronouns when they die. And I'll leave that up there, and I'll probably use that for something else. Maybe I'll put it on some sort of media message, but that's not going to happen right now. I only got an hour and 10 minutes, and I got to write a flash fiction story. I get to. I got the time, the money, this somewhat stableness required to be able to stage all this shit. I get to. Stonewall Inn pours unwatered whiskey for poker players gambling against a house. Jebediah. I haven't used Jebediah. I don't think we have a Jebediah in the story, so I'm going to create this character. It'll be a, I don't, Jedediah, like Jedediah Smith, not Jebediah, Jedediah. I think it's Jedediah. Fucking don't matter. It's going to be. Let's just do Jed. And I've known Jeds before, and this is not going to be inspired by them, but I do know this name, so good person, good people. Stonewall Inn pours unwatered whiskey for poker players gambling against a house. Jed stands from the table and pulls out their pistol. I'm going to start there. And the whole entire time, yeah, because they're dead. They got no gender. Angels have no gender. I want to use that somewhere. That's fun. I'm sure that's probably, I don't think I've ever read that before, and it came spontaneously, but if someone doesn't have that on a bumper sticker, it needs to be. Or at least tattooed on the foreheads of some people. Stonewall Inn pours unwatered whiskey for poker players. Gambling against the house, Jed stands from the table. How the hell do you spell table? It doesn't even look right. And pulls out their cap and ball pistol. Cap and ball revolver. That is descriptive. That is, yeah, so we're around 1875. Cap and ball. Pulls out their cap and ball revolver. They step back, knocking over the chair. And aim at the dealer. And that's all you need to say. That's all I'm going to say. Poker and ace. And that'll let people imagine card game. Because a shot fires. This could be like that Discovery. I think they're going to run and go out of town and the horse won't be able to react to him or something like that. They're not an angel. But I guess if you have some belief, let me get rid of that for here. I might leave it right there. I mean, I've taken the transcript of this, so I got it recorded somewhere, the stream of consciousness thought, how it came up with this. Anyway, I have that thought for later. Stonewall Inn pours unwatered whiskey. Okay, that's the second time in many hands you got that ace. Okay. I mean, I've talked that way before, so I don't have to think of a Western. They step back, knocking over their chair. I'm going to definitely think of the story of Nephi. Nephi Paul is going to help me write this Western story, and probably every Western past story I will run into. It's such a great story and such a great scene, what we've created. Anyway, maybe a later book, but for now, I'd love to see us both publish the same book. He write one, I write one, and we edit both of ours. Well, I don't know. I'm just going off stream of consciousness about other stories, and I shouldn't be, because this I have the shot fired behind the bar. Jed stumbles back and runs from the bar, runs from Stonewall Inn. And stomps the wood walkway, the frozen mud road. His horse. Now you gotta introduce it with a name first. You don't call it what it is, you call it by the name, and then maybe you describe what it is if you're not in the know. To runner. Their horse. Yeah, let's at least set it up that much. So Jed stands from the table and pulls out their cap and ball revolver. They step back, knocking over the chair, and aim at the house dealer, Carl. That's the second time in as many hands you got that ace. Shot fires from behind the bar, and Jed stumbles back and runs from the Stonewall Inn. The overuse of articles these days really irritates me. And stomps the wood walkway. Let's do walkway one and wood another. To the frozen mud road, a runner. Their horse. Okay. Runner just stomps there. And doesn't even bluster. Just stands. Now, Runner's going to freak out. Runner's not going to know. Runner's going to be able to sense the spirit. Runner blusters and whinnies, kicking rear hooves in the air. Runner blusters and whinnies, kicking rear hooves in the air, and it's present tense, so let's just verify that. Let me do a quick check of my story elements before I start writing more and then realize that I'm writing the wrong story. Past, yes. This is definitely set in the past, around 1875. City, yes. Well, I mean, yes. This is a city by this time in the standards of a Western. I think. Maybe I'm BSing myself on that one. Supernatural, yes. This person is now a ghost. Quantity of primary characters, 1. That's it. Jed, like they're it. They're the ghost. Everyone else is a scene for them to realize that. Third person so far. Present tense, yes. Western, I think so. In flash fiction, it ends when they realize that they're the ghost. I just got to figure out how to do that and make it seem like it's an end. I don't know if I'll be able to do that. I'll try. I can always try. Very likely I'll fail, but get used to it. That's what I at least tell myself every day. Some days I'm used to it. Actually, maybe I'm too used to it. Shot fires from behind the bar. Jed stumbles back and runs from the stone wall in and stomps the wood walkway to the frozen mud road and runner, their horse. Runner blusters and whinnies. Kicking rear hooves in the air. Bucking. Let's go bucking. Bucking. Rear hooves in the air. Bucking circles. Ooh, yes. Bucking circles and kicking. Yes, there we are. A shot fires behind the bar. Jed stumbles back and runs from the stone wall in and stomps. Runner blusters and whinnies, bucking circles and kicking rear hooves in the air. Jed steps back. Jed hears a holler from the inn. Going to shoot you. And this could be seen as them also being like recounting. And it could be really they were like they were gonna shoot you. Uh-oh. Hopefully I still have the story. I did do it right quick, right? Oh, I did. I don't know why I did that. But anyway, I decided to save this, probably for a good reason. It's not too bad. This could also be interpreted as they were going to shoot you. They're going to shoot you. Jed hustles. Jed runs along the street. By people stepping into the store and looking at them and Stonewall Inn. They cut the corner. Jed cuts the corner. It runs the alley along the street by the bank. The tailor. Oh, maybe this could be in Ogden. Oh, shoot, yeah. and the Pinkertons. But then I had to get too accurate, because that would be even better. That'd be more of a city. And I got a map of it, so at least I can at least get inventive. I don't need to get inventive. I got literally a picture that's labeled of someone that drew Ogden in 1875. That's Ogden, Utah. Jed runs along the street by the bank, the tailor, and the Pinkertons. And Pinkertons by people stepping into stores or looking at the Jed runs the alleyway. Jed runs the alleyway. Between, I want something else. Frank's, the blacksmith. Would be the blacksmith though. I wouldn't know the proper the smithy. Roberts and Helen's. Dance and drink. I don't know. I'm just thinking of names. Get a medic. Get the doc. Put a little exclamation point. Jed runs. An offense. Jed runs beyond a facade and a facade fence. I don't know what that means right yet. Like, I know that a lot of those old westerns had basically facades to make them a little bit more grander than they looked in the back. Maybe had a fence that was shaped like something. I don't know. I'm going to get rid of that. Runs along Stone Street in the open road. They look back and see two on horse. Maybe through the shot that this is the dealer Carl racing after them. Yeah. So it'll be the house dealer Carl is going to be on back of this horse, and they're taking him to the docks. Get him to the docks. Get him to the doctors. Get him to the docks place. Jed runs along Stone Street to the open road. Let's capitalize that because that's like a proper name. Stone Street. Haven't you been there? I have. It's got some stones. It used to have it, but they pulled it up. Used to have the most stones of any street, any place, and eventually they got rid of those stones. People kept tripping over them, but it kept the name Stone Street. That's something that I'd write if it was a novel. This would be the first chapter, though. I mean, I totally take that back. This would be the second part, first, second, third, last. It'd be the novel. No, let's not get down there. I'm not writing a novel. I'm writing a flash fiction story. So Jed runs along the Stone Street open road. And long road. I don't know what. And what the hell do you call that? The Oregon Trail. They look back and see two on horse racing after them. Two horses. Two riders on horses galloping mud along the road. They slap the side of their hip. And see no gun and hit no gun. They run from the road. Let's do it this way. Mud. Kicks from the hooves of horses nearing. Jed tries to grab his knife. It stops. The horses gallop past. With what was the dude's name? With the house dealer Carl. Strapped to the back. And dripping blood. From a bullet wound. How did I discover? I gotta have one big reveal right now. And this could be done. And I just gotta think of a great name. The name will define the action. It'll be like once they realize it. Yeah. He's no angels. The moment Jed realizes he's no angel. The moment Jed realizes they're no angel. The horses gallop past and through. Drips blood from Jet's gun. I don't know. Is it? It's too vague. Like, Jed feels a sting and stumbles back and runs from Stonewall in and stomps. Tries to grab his knife. But their hand passes through it. And maybe that's it. Maybe because you're no angel, you're still trapped in this human form. Therefore, you do have the pronoun he. Oh, then they realize it, and they're just a ghost. And ghosts probably don't have gender either. I mean, they're a ghost. There's some cosmic energy, but even then, that cosmic energy will be guided by the mind in that state, not necessarily that flesh vessel around it. Flesh vessel will influence it, but I mean, ultimately, if one were to believe in ghosts, it'd be more about the mental transfer of it and that soul and connection outside of the body. Anyway, that's not even need to talk for this right here. I'm going to at least have Jed feel it. Feels the sting and stumbles back and runs from Stonewall in and stomps the wood walkway to the frozen wood. The horses gallop past and around and through Jed. I'm just going to, if it's only going to be this long and I got time, I want to make it at least not too bad as far as. The horses gallop past and through Jed. The house dealer Carl strapped to the back of the horse. Drips blood from the bull wound. Is that how you spell realize? Realize it. I'm gonna look that up because I don't want to at least plaster that, or my confidence in spelling that word right there in the present. Yes, realizes. Okay, that seems right. The moment Jed realizes they're dead, they are dead. There we go. They could be they're dead, and that'd be witty, but I don't want it to be that. I don't need to be I don't need to be witty. It's fun, but not every day is a witty day. I'm done. I'm going to call it. I know it's short. It's flash fiction, I suppose. And, if you're writing a 1,000-page novel, you got like 150 chapters, do little vignettes. This could be one of them, but I don't know. I'm going to go with it. A little bit of a cop out, maybe. This would be microfiction that I've read about, possibly. I mean, this can't be more than like 100 words, and maybe it's a story. Well, let's at least make sure that it fits the parameters. I got time to correct that. I made this into a city. It's bigger than the fictional city that this is based upon, which is created within my mind from gaming hero system with a character called Nephi Paul in 1875. So I used a lot of that, but I just made it bigger. I added more like a bank. I added a smithy. I even put the Pinkertons in there because that's how big it is. And probably inspired a little bit by Ogden. And I'd maybe move it there if I had more time or desire to shift it. Maybe I will. I mean, it hit better. Let's do that. Let's throw that out there. Let's make this because we gamed in Stonewall too. Stonewall Inn in Utah, in Ogden, Utah, in Ogden. Ogden Stonewall Inn. How's that? They're dead in Ogden. One of my favorite places on earth. Ogden, Utah. And that's no bullshit. Let's do that. Well, let's just do Ogden. That's grittier in my mind. Let's do it. All right, I'm done. I think I like the name. I like the placement, and this would still put it around where at least my illustration of Ogden, Utah in 1875 would kind of fit in. Maybe a glorified place where the train eventually came through, if I remember my timeline right, with 25th Street type of that vibe. Whether that's truly fictional, probably, but I think it's called fiction. Flash fiction, not flash fact. All right, so for today's stochastic fiction game, let's put Ogden City. Let's throw that in Ogden City. I think so. Ogden City Stonewall Inn pours watered whiskey for poker players gambling against a house. Okay, boom. I don't know if they called it a city back there. I don't know when it was incorporated, so that could be total BS, but I don't care. I'm not going to look it up right now. Let's drop it. Let's drop the city. Ogden's. Yeah, the in Ogden would be enough. To hell with any other sort of further definition of it. So for today's stochastic fiction game, these story elements are setting time in the past, setting main location city, conflict person versus supernatural themselves, almost. Quantity of primary characters 1, point of view third, tense, present tense, genre western, format flash fiction. Sorry for the long breath. We'll score this at the end. I'm questioning whether this actually was person versus supernatural. It kind of is. It kind of is. The story for today's stochastic fiction game is called let's drink some water. All right, let's try to get something that doesn't gargle in my voice, but hey, Maybe that just makes it seem more authentic, more Western. The story is called The Moment Jed Realizes They're Dead in Ogden. The moment Jed realizes they're dead in Ogden. Ogden's Stonewall Inn pours unwatered whiskey for poker players gambling against the house. Jed stands from the table and pulls out their cap and ball revolver. They step back, knocking over the chair, and aim at the house card dealer, Carl. That's the second time in as many hands you got that ace. The shot fires from behind the bar. Jed feels a sting and stumbles back and runs from the Stonewall Inn and stomps the wood walkway to the frozen mud road and Runner, their horse. Runner blusters and whinnies, bucking circles and kicking rear hooves in the air. Jed hears a holler from the inn. They're gonna shoot you! Jed runs along the street by the bank, the tailor, and the Pinkertons, and by people stepping into the stores and looking at Stonewall Inn. Jed runs the alleyway between the Smithy Roberts and Helen Dance Drink. People shout behind, "Get to the Doc's place!" Jed runs along Stone Street and Long Road. They look back and see two riders on horses galloping mud along the road. They slap the side of their hip and hit no gun. Mud kicks from the hooves of the horses. Jed tries to grab their knife, but their hand passes through it, and they stop. The horses gallop past and through Jed. The house dealer, Carl, strapped to the back of a horse, drips blood from a bullet wound. Well, there were obvious mistakes that some read over, as this is not in the other place. So there is no Oregon Trail. So I didn't say that aloud, and that's fine. I'm gonna remove that, but I think that's done. I don't need to read it again. And I want to capitalize Long Road, just because I read it now. I will, if I ever publish this, I'd edit it. Yeah. There's other mistakes that I read over, but that's enough. That's the stochastic fiction game for today. And I'm a little generous. And maybe I'm liking the smell of my own poop. Sometimes it happens. At least give it... I don't know about rewriting. I give it a 4 because I think it's not bad. I don't think it's tops, but it still needs editing. And it might smell like perfume if it's edited just right. And I got some critiques and maybe worked it in there just a little bit with the same amount of words. And maybe the critique would be, it's poop. But for now, and maybe not the future tense of me won't like this, but we should at least complete this. By saving it so we can remember it. Oh. That's why. It's in a different directory. So if we clear, and we'll write the story, and read it aloud. And fill, it could be a 4. But future tense, future me, will likely disagree. And that could be a story. But it is complete for today. And as is this time, with even time on the clock left. And that was today's stochastic fiction game. Hopefully I can find more randomness in my life to be maybe a little more creative, or at least a little bit more connected with other people.